So, good afternoon. Welcome to our new series of net zero carbon webinars. Our first one in this new session, we're going to be looking at the Church of England's new fundraising campaign called Give to Go Green. And we're joined this afternoon by the project manager for Give to Go Green, Grace Hardingham. Grace is going to be sharing all about the campaign. She's going to be talking about the pilot that they had last year with some of the parishes across the country, some of the success stories that they've had. And after Grace has spoken, we're going to have a time for question and answer. So if you can drop in your questions into the chat. And actually, before we get going, if you'd like to introduce yourselves by putting your name and your parish and your diocese into the chat box, we'd love to see where you are all joining us from. The last year we've been doing these webinars for Portsmouth, Guildford, Chichester, and then also Winchester. But some of these webinars now are going even further than that. So we've connected up with our colleagues in Salisbury and in Canterbury and Rochester. Some of our colleagues are joining us this afternoon from there. Um, so the spread for these webinars has got much wider. So we'd love to find out where you are joining us from. So drop that into the chat below. And can I just get our net zero colleagues just to say a quick hello and introduce themselves and tell us your role and the diocese that you're part of? That'd be okay.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I'll start if you like. My name's Gareth Martin. I'm from Chichester Diocese. I work part-time for the diocese as a net zero carbon officer for parishes. So specifically helping parishes across Chichester look at how they can decarbonise, spreading good practice and providing some advice and hopefully facilitating access to some funding as well. So
Fantastic.
hi, everybody.
Buff, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm the Diocesan Environment Officer in Chichester, so I'm a volunteer and Gareth's counterpoint that I don't do all the things he does, but I do the teaching, training, speaking, carbon literacy, the hearts and minds stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you. Lucy, why don't you join us?
Hi, I'm Lucy. I am Net Zero Project Coordinator for racial social justice and net zero in Winchester. So my role is like a 50-50 role. I work with our environment officer, which is Sam Scott. And I do more of the kind of technicality, grants, admin, that kind of role, whereas Sam is more creation care.
Thank you. And we're also joined by Aileen Godfrey, who's the net zero person for, I want to say Canterbury. Uh, Aileen, why don't you come and say hello?
Yeah, hi. I'm the Net Zero Advisor for Canterbury, and I work with Kat and Haley from Rochester. Yeah, just looking forward to hearing what we're going to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Aileen. All right. So these are some of the Net Zero colleagues that you will have been working with. And if you've not met any of us before, then do get in contact with us. We would love to help you out with your Net Zero journey, helping to look after creation, and looking after your church buildings and the grounds around it, and helping you to save money by reducing your energy bills. So today we're going to be looking at the Give to Go Green campaign, which is a national campaign that's just about to be launched. And so can I welcome Grace Hardingham, who is the project manager for Give to Go Green, who's going to be sharing with us this afternoon.
Hi everyone, really nice to be with you today. Thanks for the introduction, Matt. I am the Give to Go Green project manager. I have been in the Church of England for 2.5 years. That feels about right, working on Give to Go Green. So I eat, sleep, Give to Go Green. And in fact, one of you, I won't call you out, is already knows Give to Go Green because you are a previous grant recipient from Winchester. So it's nice to see you here. I will share my screen now. Which I'm very glad has gone well today. Um, so I'll talk you through what is Give to Go Green, a bit of lessons learned, myth busting, case studies, and then quick wins or Give to Go Green, kind of working in the context of a grant that you might know, and then how to apply and introducing a new grants management portal, which will be for all grants, so not just Give to Go Green, all national grants, whether they're net zero or accessibility grants, you'll have to apply through this new grants portal. And then I'm going to talk a bit about, well, if Give to Go Green isn't for you right now, how to find, we've got a new grants database, which I part-time work on as well, which has a live grants database for you to find other grants that might work. So what is the fundraising team? Where do I sit? Who is Grace? Blah 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 blah. So basically, the National Net Zero program has a fundraising team in it, and we have 4 different work streams as part of that. I just thought I would put me in some context. So there is a bit of our team which does fundraising. So if they might fundraise for, to get the Give to Go Green pot a bit bigger, or they might do partnerships with other grant streams in net zero. That bit is a bit more about active fundraising. And then we do a bit of lobbying work. So we look at what government grants are available to churches, which should be available to churches or Church of England buildings, and how can we make it easier for that kind of group to apply to government grants. And then we do supporting dioceses to fundraise. So we help the net zero officers, so people like Matt, or more involved fundraisers to help fundraise in a more local level. And then we do the last bit, which is support parishes to fundraise, which is the Give to Go Green, and then the guidance and research. So anything on fundraising, policy and compliance, all that fun stuff. We also are responsible for that. So I thought I would give my best example of Give to Go Green and what happened. So Give to Go Green in the last 2 years has rolled out across 8 different dioceses as a pilot scheme to see if our crazy idea of doing a match funding project would work. And I think it's been quite a success, and I think the stats show that as well. But I'll start off by a story. So here we have the amazing Daphne in Southeast region, not so far from some of you, in Lee, which is Southeast London. And she's a self-supporting minister with a church that is a lot of families, young people, but also supports a larger council estate next to the church. And they have been fundraising for 12 years for a big capital project. It's like new roof, a new bit for the community to do community projects, a new children's workplace, and they had just kind of hit a slump, and there was no kind of fundraising. There was no fundraising really happening anymore. And so they took part in Give to Go Green, and they raised £10,000 in through community funding, through community and their congregation, but also outside of their congregation, and then got that match funded. And since then, being able to prove to funders that you are able to raise funds and that the community is supporting this project has led them to now have 2 years later, they've now fundraised for £1.5 million. I'm not saying that's going to happen for all of you taking part in Give to Go Green, but it is a story that is quite common of Give to Go Green being the start of the ability to fundraise for wider projects. So Give to Go Green being the start of something special. So what is Give to Go Green? Give to Go Green is a parish match funding grant scheme. So up for projects up to £20,000. So we give you up to £10,000 and you fundraise for up to £10,000 equals £20,000. It's for carbon cutting projects to parishes and to churches and church halls. So example projects are draft proofing, heated pew cushions, insulation, LED lights. We've had a lot of different projects. It's the same kind of eligibility criteria as the Quick Wins £10,000 if you've seen that, but there is more information about exactly what is on that eligibility criteria online. I just won't bore you with reading out various different decarbonisation projects. So match funding does what it says on the tin. So for every £1 donated by an individual, the Give to Go Green campaign will add an additional £1. And Give to Go Green builds on the work of, if you're familiar with your giving advisor, that kind of work that's been doing, and it uses a platform called Give a Little, which is used by over 9,000 churches. If you're unfamiliar with that, there is links on the website as well, but it's basically the campaign runs through something like if you're familiar with Just Giving or that kind of online donation page. So when we started Give to Go Green, there was a lot of that's great, but won't work in my parish. And I got that from rural churches, from urban churches, from churches with a very low congregation to churches with like thousands of congregation. Everyone said that's not for us. But what we've seen is actually Give to Go Green has had a real ability to work in a variety of different parish contexts. So 98% of churches reached 100% of their fundraising target. And speaking about fundraising is increases giving not just now, but in the future. So supporting churches, confidence to make the ask is essential missional work. So, like for example, St Mildred's Lee, churches that have started with Give to Go Green have actually seen an increase in giving, and I'll show some stats in the next slide to support this. And then community fundraising does not necessarily mean just congregations. Churches at the centre of many communities, those local to the church, have willing generosity to support a parish's church building and mission. They just need to be asked. So we had a church in Southwark diocese, for example, that 75% of the giving came from outside of the congregation. So the average gift size increases after the campaign. So if this is a bit confusing, I'll just explain it. So so in round one, so there was 3 rounds of Give to Go Green previously. The average donation before Give to Go Green was £6.93, and then after on the app it was £10.86, and then you have, which is a 57% increase. So on the Give a Little app, it's increased by 57%, and then online, before it was £15.71, and then after £89 and 10 pence, and that's a year after taking part in Give to Go Green. It's and then again, this is a slightly bigger increase on the app, and then online as well. So that's just kind of, and then this this graph explains, I think this was on the this was on the second round of Give to Go Green. It shows the index of multiple deprivation, so how deprived a parish is, and explains that it worked across. We got churches from both really rich areas and really poor areas, and it worked. And then 60% of churches that took part were urban and 40% were rural. So you're sat there thinking, that sounds really great. Is my church gonna get any money? So Give to Go Green has been successful in a variety of different parish contexts. It's so there's no right answer, and as I explain in a bit, it's about speaking to your net zero officer and working out when or if you should apply. So if a church is soon or currently doing a 20k plus capital building project, they will need to fundraise locally. It could Give to Go Green could be a great kickstart. So Give to Go Green is a great way to enter or begin your net zero journey, because we realise that 20k is obviously, it's a lot of money, but it's not enough to do a full major capital project for a lot of the parishes out there. Then it's about how fast you need that money for. So Give to Go Green is about a 4 to 5 month process from application to raising the money locally to then receiving the money afterwards. So if you need an oil boiler replaced, your boiler has just broken and you need the money tomorrow, Give to Go Green is probably not the way to go, because with that money is just not going to come as quick as you need it. And Give to Go Green requires a small, but it needs at least 2 volunteers to set up digital giving plan and host those fundraising events to raise that £10,000 or less in the community. And the training and support will be provided by the digital giving team and myself as a trained fundraiser. But yeah, the people that are volunteering need to be there. So suggested questions, and we'll send this PowerPoint round, so don't feel like you need to quickly write all these questions down. Is about when you're thinking about how you're going to get funding for your project. How urgent are the works? Is the project part of a wider capital project? You're probably more likely to get funding if you see this as part of a wider move towards net zero and can display that. How engaged is the congregation already in volunteering? So is there the support there? How engaged is the parish with outside community, with the outside community or other groups so that you can get support for that fundraising? How likely is it the parish will receive a faculty for the project? So this is something that you can ask your net zero officer. You don't need to be a faculty expert, but how likely is it that you can do this? How engaged is the congregation in net zero? Do they need encouragement to make progress? It's not the be all and end all if your congregation is very new to this. What volunteer capacity that kind of repeats before, and then have you completed your energy footprint tool? And if I'm guessing if you've come to this, you've heard from Matt a lot, so he's probably made you do the energy footprint tool and then register with EcoChurch. And that's the same with all net zero grants. You'll need to have done your energy footprint tool and registered with EcoChurch. So how do I apply? Speak to your net zero officer, ! Applications will open at the end of May, running until 2028. And there will be 2 grant assessments in 2026, moving to 4 grant assessments in 2027 and 2028. There'll be more. There's just because of the funding profile of the Church of England, there will be more funding available in 2027 and 2028 than there is in 2026. So you have time to put together an application if you're not ready now. For a parish to complete their application, they will need to speak to their diocesan net zero officer. So that's why I'm saying speak to them. And each diocese should expect to put forward 2 to 3 successful projects to the grants panel from each diocese. There will be more funding available. I've just spoken about that. So then we get on to the grants management portal, and I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so that I can get up a wonderful video I made earlier. Oh, come back. It was going so well, screen sharing. Now it's back. Yes, okay, we're working. We're rolling. So I'm gonna play this.
Welcome to.
Can you hear that? Can you hear have I shared with sound as well? I have.
The homepage for the new grants portal. Here's the homepage. At the top, you'll see tabs that take you to the information about you, your grants, and other functions. If that's a bit small and you want to enlarge your screen, you can click on Zoom and make it a little bit bigger. So let's briefly look at what's in each tab. We'll start with funding opportunities. This will show you all grant streams that are open for applications. We also call funding rounds. The screen will default to recently viewed funding rounds, and this makes it easier to see what you've recently been looking at. But if you click on open all funding rounds, you'll see everything that's open. So let's have a look at a net zero carbon demonstrator funding round. On here, you'll be able to start an application and you'll see guidance notes about applying for this grant in the Files tab. Notice also on the right-hand side, there's an opportunity to start an expression of interest. This is a way that you can contact the grant team to indicate that you'd be interested in applying for a grant without going through the full application process. It enables you to have an early conversation with the grant team on whether to proceed. If your organisation has created any expression, you'll easily find these from the Expressions of Interest tab. The next tab along is My Applications and Grants. Here's where you'll see all grants and applications for your organisation if you have the All Grants profile. Notice at the top there are two separate tabs, My Applications and My Grants. So let's go back to My Applications and have a look at an application that hasn't yet been submitted to the grant team. Notice there is a status bar at the top, which will change as you go through the application and review process. The next tab at the top is Grant Reports. This is where you'll find the monitoring reports for your grants, covering financial and narrative reporting. The next tab is Payments.
I'm just gonna stop that there because the rest of it you don't really need to know at the moment. So I'll leave it there. But that kind of explains what the grant management portal is. And if you haven't heard again, I will point to your wonderful net zero officers, which will have wonderful resources. And we'll be able to guide you on how to get access to that. And that grants portal opens on the 18th of April. If you are wondering when that will open, I just have one more slide to show you that I will just show you now. I will leave this for Matt to show you, for Matt to send round the slides, which has a video of the wonderful Grace. I don't just like her because her name is great. Who got I think it's £100,000 worth of funding through grants that she identified on Cornerstone. And I'll also put a link in the PowerPoint to point you towards that. But Cornerstone is a lives grants database, which is available for all churches, and it shows only funders that will fund churches. So we've picked them all down for you, and you can filter them by region, type of project you want, type of application, range of different ones. Matt, I will. Enough of me. You're chatting. I could talk all day. Matt, shut me up.
Not going to say anything. Thank you so much, Grace. Really appreciate you sharing about Give to Go Green. It's excuse me. It seems to me like to kind of summarize what you were sharing there, that if you're looking to put up solar panels and stuff like that, this is not going to fund it, but it will kickstart some funding in your parish. It will get you motivated to engage with the community, fundraising into your local community so that they're aware of what you're doing and can invest alongside you. And it also gives you credibility when it comes to going for those bigger fundraising applications and grant applications. Gives you credibility with those funders so that they can see that you are serious about your project and you have already achieved some fundraising already with your community and they're engaging with you. So that helps those kind of applications as well. Is that right?
Yes, although we
Yeah.
fund solar panels.
Oh
So
yeah, of course. Obviously, you can
oh,
put it
sorry.
towards,
But yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
like
But
twenty
but
thousand
but,
pound is not
but
going to pay
twenty
for a
thousand
big solar
pound
panel. Yeah.
it's not gonna do all of your project. Absolutely. You've got it.
And I guess then it just leaves the parish open to come up with all kinds of ideas for how they can fundraise. I'm thinking last year, our church, we did a fundraising for to put up some new guttering to completely replace that because the leaks coming in that. So they did a bit of fundraising to that. And this would have been ideal for us because some of the events were things like a race around the island, the Isle of Wight. We had two groups who were set off at the same time and kind of took different routes to go around the Isle of Wight. They were being sponsored, and so something like that would engage with your local community, that kind of sponsorship event. And obviously, there's things that you can do actually in the community, whether it's putting up stalls to bring and buy those kind of things. That churches are known for doing, but the
Yeah.
creativity is there. The opportunities for creativity in engaging with the community are there, aren't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. We had some great. We had teddy bear, parachute jumps. We had litter picks. We had lots of schools getting involved in children doing sponsored litter picks. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been great to see
And then
what
obviously the
all
benefit
around.
then as well, once you started that kind of community fundraising, is it doesn't just stop with this project, but you can carry it on. It, you were saying earlier that some churches have noticed that the giving that they're receiving has gone up just just normally. That level
Yeah.
has gone up just because this kind of thing kick-started a sense of generosity, not just within their church, but within their community as well.
Exactly. And I think speaking about if you want to fundraise, the first thing you've got to do is speak about it,
Yeah.
which seems really simple, but often is my first advice when I'm speaking to churches about fundraising, that like, how much are you actually speaking about it to? Are you asking the same people over and over again? Or are you finding the new people, are you making the ask to new people, which can be quite scary because
Mhm.
you want to feel hospitable. Is that no, you don't want to feel is hospitable? No.
Well, yeah, you don't want to make people
What's
feel guilty or manipulated
yes.
into giving or anything like that. Yeah.
I couldn't think that what the word was hostile or
But yeah.
hospitable. I didn't want to suggest that you wanted to make people feel hostile. Anyway, uh but yeah, you want people to feel welcome and uh fundraising actually asking people to support you is is often a great way of welcoming people in and actually making them feel involved in the church and the church life.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think Give to Go Green kind of speaks to that wider like fundraising
And
idea.
with the because it's for net zero projects, then it carries that message of creation care. It demonstrates to the community that we're not just fixing the church tower because that's what all churches do, but actually we are wanting to live responsibly for creation, and the things that we're doing here, they matter, and we want to make sure that everyone is welcome and at home and is comfortable. And so therefore these are the changes that we're making to make sure that we do it in a way that's sustainable to creation, and demonstrates that we are thinking about people, not just buildings.
Yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Um,
Um,
I
I was just
just
say, so if people want to throw in some questions, we've got a couple there that I'll start working my way through. But if you want to ask Grace a question, then do drop it into the chat. I'll start off with the questions that are here, Grace, if that's okay. So
fine.
David Scott Ralphs asks, so the expression of interest to the new portal do not need to go via the diocese first. If you so using the new grants portal, you
Yeah,
use that expression of interest. You don't have to speak to the net zero officer first to do that.
no. So Give to Go Green doesn't have a expressions of interest
Right.
uh a part, but something maybe a bit bigger, like if you've heard of the demonstrators project, might have an expressions of interest. I'm not sure what their
Okay.
grants policy is. Um, uh, you don't need to speak to um, your diocese before you fill that in, but on each of the grants, it will be clear to you um, whether or not you need the support of your diocese, and the diocese will know how to support you, will know how to support your application.
Yeah.
So you don't, the answer is yes and no. Look at the guidance on each of the grants because each of the grants will have slightly different guidance, not
Right.
a million miles away, but
Okay.
just have a look.
Gareth is asking, can a project be larger than 20,000 even though the maximum Give to Go Green grant is 10,000?
So yes and no again. Um, uh, I will take St Mildred's Lee that I used as an example at the start. So the total installation for part of the roof was £20,000. So they fundraised for £20,000 for that. They also happened to insulate another side of the building's roof, but that wasn't covered in Give to Go Green. So Give to Go Green must uh, fundraise for all of a project, but it doesn't need to be. You can break down your
Yeah.
project into
Yes, you've got a
sizable
big
chunks.
project. You've got a big project, you break it down, and there's a certain part of it that's going to be about
Exactly.
£20,000. That's what you do for Give to Go to Green, and you find other funders for the other parts.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Excuse me. Right, so Anne is asking, there's a mention of a 6-week fundraising period for Give to Go Green. How important is this timescale? What happens if the fundraising event or period runs beyond 6 weeks? And what constitutes the start and end of that 6-week period?
So you pick where that 6 weeks is. So you from the time in which we send the grant award letter, you have a year to pick when to do that those 6 weeks. Um, if something drastic happens and you can't do it in that year, you can make a change request to me, and if it's reasonable, I will accept that you can do it for after a bit longer, but you pick those 6 weeks. So it is definitely 6 weeks, but you pick when those 6 weeks are, and you have a long time to prepare and make sure you have those fundraising events. Some people have picked over Christmas. Some people, normally in rural communities, pick over summer because there's more tourism, or the local summer fete, or May bank holiday, whatever it is, will support that fundraising. But yeah, pick when
And so
6 weeks are.
the 6 weeks then is like that's a fixed period to run this campaign. If if by the end of that 6 weeks you haven't quite made your target amount, does that mean that what you raise beyond 6 weeks, if you're still doing fundraising stuff beyond the 6 weeks, that won't count towards the match fund?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So
only
it's what you
those
get in the
six
6 weeks.
weeks. You have to do it in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Pick when those 6 weeks are. If you are fundraising for 10,000, if your target is £10,000, you only manage to raise £8,000, we'll still give you £8,000.
Okay. No, I think that's clear. Catherine's asking, you mentioned only 2 to 3 successful projects from each diocese would be put forward for funding. Can you clarify that?
So yes, so in order to have a successful application, your diocese will need to support support that application. So you need to speak to your diocesan net zero officer about an availability of availability of how many projects they're already thinking about putting forward, and then those ones that have the support from the net zero officers will be successful. Is that clear?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So a diocese can only really recommend 2 to 3 in 2026 this year, and 3 to 4 in the next 2 years to go forward to get
Yeah.
to get their campaigning. Yeah, and that's simply because the National Church of England has provided, the Church Commission has provided a limited amount of finance available for this kind of fundraising, and so it's just kind of,
Exactly.
if 160 churches apply in one diocese, then that's usually up the whole budget for the Church of England.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we're most of our funding to the net zero program goes directly to parishes. I think I can't remember the percentage, but it's like quite a high percentage of funding just goes directly to grants. But that pot is, as much as I would like it to be £1 trillion, we don't have £1 trillion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately not yet. Does anybody else have any questions they want to put forward? Just drop them into the chat. But I'm kind of close things up. But thank you so much, Grace, for sharing and telling us about this. That obviously there's a lot of interest in churches across the country to find out how they can get their net zero projects funded, and every church that we speak to, they want money for something or other. Every church is in that situation, and I think that what seems to me is that the benefit of this campaign is that you're not just raising money to get stuff done, but it's an initiative that helps you as a parish connect and engage with your community in a much more healthier way, and in a much more face to face, rather than just the church up on the hill raising money all the time. And so it's that sense of connecting with your community, and not just for the 6 week period, but beyond that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's our churches within a benefice allowed to work together. So, I'm just sorry. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
I just saw as well.
So I'm just gonna
Go
answer
for
that
it.
one. You can put forward an application. To that, I would speak to your net zero officer about doing that. And again, it would, for each application, it's up to £10,000. So it wouldn't increase the amount that you could do that for. Yes. Oh, you are the net zero.
Yes, Aileen.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Just anticipating questions.
As much as my I will say yes. Okay, perfect. Well, there you go.
Can I just ask a
Go for it,
question?
Lucy. Yeah.
Go for it, Lucy.
What about, sorry if you mentioned it, I don't think you did, but what about cash?
Oh, well, I can tell you about cash donations. So the treasurer can record cash donations to the as the admin of the account on Give a Little. So you can say, Sally gave me £50, and then they collect it, put it into the money goes straight from the online portal, it goes straight to the church's bank account. So you just need to be ready to, for audit purposes, to have that paper trail of your bank statement, which explains where that money has come from.
Okay, so they just pay it to the treasurer and the treasurer pays it in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, look, I don't think we've got any more questions, so I'm gonna kind of wrap things up there. Thank you so much again, Grace. Really good to have you with us this afternoon and launching our new series of Net Zero webinars. So let me just finish things up. Excuse me. Let me just finish things up for this afternoon. So, like I said, this is the first in a new series of Net Zero webinars that we are running alongside Winchester, Chichester, and Guildford Diocese. But we've also got our colleagues from Salisbury, Canterbury, and Rochester joining us. We will be having more Net Zero webinars coming up soon. If you go to, I'm just going to post a website in the chat here. You can see all of the webinars that we've got coming up. Plus, you can catch up with all of our previous webinars from the last year or so. So we've got quite a few webinars if you're looking for solar panels or infrared heating, LED lighting, all that kind of stuff, looking to apply for energy audits. We've already done webinars on all of those, so you'll be able to watch and catch up on those. And we've made the presentations for each one available to download underneath each video. We will be making this one available to watch as catch up, hopefully from tomorrow onwards. And we'll have Grace's presentation available to download with that as well. And if there are any other areas of creation care or net zero or anything like that that you would like us to cover in these webinars, do get in contact with your net zero officer. We're always chatting to each other and planning all these things. So let them know what it is you'd like to find out about, and we can put on a webinar for you. Next month, we are hoping to have a webinar on sustainable flowers. We're just waiting for confirmation for that. The month after that, we're going to be joined by climate stewards who are going to talk about carbon offsetting, which is one of those parts of our net zero journey. If you look at the Church of England's route to net zero, the roadmap, it mentions carbon offsetting as something that you do at the end when you've done everything else you can and you want to kind of offset the last remaining amount of carbon emissions from your building so that you can get to net zero. And it's a little bit of an unknown. It's quite big in the corporate world at the moment. Lots of organizations trying to find ways of reducing their carbon output by offsetting it by funding different net zero technologies. So Caroline Pomeroy, who's from Climate Stewards, she's going to be joining us with her colleague Adrian, and they're going to be talking about what carbon offsetting is and how we as parishes can engage with that and understand what it all means and use that as part of our route map to net zero. The month after that, we're going to be joined by Polly Eaton from A Rocha. She's the eco-diocese officer for A Rocha, and she's going to be sharing about eco-church. We talked about it earlier. Grace mentioned it in her presentation. If you're not part of eco-church yet, then come along and find out all about what eco-church is. We're also going to be looking at what Wild Christian, which is something that A Rocha have started up just recently, which focuses on individuals and how they can manage their lifestyle and develop a lifestyle that is far more sustainable, caring for the environment. And that's an important part of Eco Church as well. Eco Church looks at the lifestyle of congregational members. So that's going to be coming up in July. But you can visit that website and you'll see all the webinars that are coming up. And we will email you to let you know what's happening so that you can register ahead. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to see all of you, and I hope you come away with something today. Do get in contact with your net zero officer and make sure that you do your energy footprint tool, because we need as many of those done as possible to get some great data to help us provide finance for particularly for the top emitters of our diocese and get your carbon emissions down and your energy bills down. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Goodbye.